Hello and welcome to a Riverpiker YouTube video. We're here to do some lure fishing on the canal. Not been out for a while, but thought I'd get out and do a little bit of perch fishing. Inspired by my recent lure day, where I was talking to a few people who came for some help, and I thought, you know what, I can make a video out of that. So first of all, Max came and he wanted a bit of help with his light lure fishing, struggling to catch perch. So often what you find with people when they're struggling to catch fish is their setups are wrong, they're a bit imbalanced, they're using too big lures, all that kind of stuff. So I looked at Max's gear and straight away I could see that Max was using some decent gear, nothing wrong with it. He got similar to me, he'd got a nice little reel, little Day1 Ninja I think it was. He got £20 braid on it, so I did sort of say to him, maybe get some lighter braid, scale down to like £8 or something when you're perch fishing. You've got to balance it between snagging up and snapping all the time, or fishing too heavy and you can't cast as much, you can't fish as light. You can't feel in contact with your lure as much. So he was making his own wire tracers, so you could use fluorocarbon if there's not many pike about, but he was making his own wire tracers, he was tying them, he was doing everything perfect. In fact, he was buying the wire from my shop, Kira wire, tying a knot in it, so everything was good. He was just fishing some places that didn't have fish, or they get a lot of stick. So again, inspired by more people at the lure day, I then was speaking to Andy and his son Isaac. Two cool lads, young Isaac, chase a following kid, and again fishing spots. So this is an exact spot they were talking about that they fished and struggled with, and so I thought what I'd do is throw some tips about and see what I can do, see what I can catch here. So I've fished here for probably, I don't know, 10 years or something, but to be honest I didn't really fish this spot that much. But I thought if I come today, morning mate, I thought if I come today we can see what happens. So I go back 10 years and you would come to this spot and literally you would just dangle your lure in the edge like that first of all, give it a few little jigs and see if there's anything about. You probably get smacked by a little perch or something, and that's what you do. And the lures you'd use is exactly what I'd use, exactly what I've got on today. Relaxed Copito shad, 2.5 inch, that's in a minnow pattern, but I'd often just use white or something, or green or whatever. That's all I'd use. It's not finesse, it's got a 10 gram jigger on it. Again, that's not exact finesse, but slightly bigger canals. It would allow a bit of cast round. You know, this little bit of wind we've got today help you just keep in contact with your lure, but it's nothing special, it's not fancy. You're not a superstar angler if you're using something like this. It's just bog standard, easy lures. What we'll do is we'll cut to a clip where my sound wasn't working 2 minutes ago, and I just did all what I've just done now, and me catching a pike. So first of all I got a bump down this edge, missed it. Secondly, caught one, little jack pike, so there you go. I'll continue talking and casting as I go, you just watch that clip. So while I'm catching this pike, you can see I'm just fishing down the edge, and it gets, you know, right where I expect pike to be hiding, right down the edge, and I'm just doing the same now. So yeah, so lure fishing, when the fish are on it and we're not getting hammered by every man, woman, child, lure fishing can be really easy. Like I said, that's what I used to do years ago, where I would go around all these similar type spots, no rocket science involved, fishing canal gates, inlets, marinas, boats, weir pools, a little bit of fast water, a little bit of a deep pool, all that kind of stuff. All the obvious spots. And the problem with obvious spots is, these days obvious spots are spotted by everybody. So I'm fishing here this morning. When I go, somebody will come and fish this afternoon, and then somebody will fish this evening, and somebody will fish tomorrow, somebody fished it yesterday. So when you come, you're no longer catching those easy fish where you just drop a lure in the face and they take it. They're still there, they're just not, they've seen something like that before and they're a little bit more cautious. They do learn, so it's not always as easy to catch these fish. But you just got to stick at it. I've got a few other methods that I might try later to see if we can pull some fish out of this spot. I'm not going to go walking far. My typical tactic would be fish a shad like this on these kind of spots, and then go walking with a Rapala jotted shad wrap, go find some fish. So these canals are big, barren, featureless canals apart from this sort of spot. And I'd go find them with a Rapala, and then I'd switch to the lighter lures, the sort of a soft lures, you know, fish a little bit more in the face. But what we're going to do is do what often a lot of people do, is stick to this one spot and just hammer it and see what you can get out of it. So we'll try a few different methods. I've got some cranks, I've got, dare I say, drop short, I've got bullet weights, well, such as California. Who knows what I'll do, but what we'll do is we'll just keep fishing, see what we fear, what we fancy. So I'm just fan casting all the way around, and like you've seen in the clip just there, I missed one and caught one straight away, probably the same pike, but at least I caught a fish. Pike knuckles. So, just having a little fan cast, see if we can catch another. 10 gram jig head allows me to cast a long way and still keep in contact with my lure after, even with a little bit of wind. It's not the most finesse. We can do finesse a little bit later, and that's what you've got to decide, whether you're going to do finesse or whether you're going to rough it like this. I've got some cranks. I've just seen a couple of fish taken on the surface. That's like, oh, that was a small perch. A little bump on my lure then, so I could scale down and try and catch a few fish. What you've got to try and do is work out where the fish will be. You know, perch tend to be nearer the bottom, although in the evening they will often come up in the water when there's a lot of fry on the surface. When it warms up, they will come up and start fishing, start feeding near the surface. So you're trying to work out where your lure is. So on these smaller canals, some of these Midlands canals, southern canals, you know, quite small, you're only fishing 2 or 3 foot deep at most, so you know your lure's virtually in the face all the time. But these canals, you know, can be 8 foot, 9 foot, so if you're fishing on the bottom and the perch at the top, you're underneath them, and vice versa, if you're on the top and all the fish are on the bottom. So, for example, some people new to lure fishing will use the old tried and tested, you know, spinner. Spinner's a great lure, it catches fish, but in a canal you're not fishing the bottom, you're not fishing the bottom layers, and that's where often your perch are. You might catch a chub on the surface or something like that. That's, you know, definite chance of that kind of thing. You might pick up a pike, they'll come up and feel the vibrations and come up. Perch, not so much. You know, spinners are not really a canal. Spinners are not really the best lure for canals for perch fishing. You will catch them at times, especially summertime when perch are spread out a little bit more and different layers. And I think that first fish came after about 6 minutes of fishing. That's often what happens. You catch a fish pretty early doors, you catch the one fish that's going to eat your bait, and then it can be really tough. So we'll see what we can do. Try different methods, you know, cast it out and wind it in, you know, 2 or 3 foot under the surface, cast it out, wind it in and let it bounce on the bottom. I'll slowly jig it, lift it up and let it sing. Perch will often take it as I see it dropping, lift it up, let it sing. Say it's got a 10 gram jig head on, so it's going to be, you're going to work it fast, it's going to sink fast, it's going to retrieve fast. So you've got to think about those things. So if I wanted to slow it down, fish it with a 2 or 3 gram jig head. Yeah, I've got some of those, so I can do that later. So I had a few casts around with a relaxed copper toe shad, and now I'm going to have a cast or 2 with a Rapala. Like I said, normally I don't fish this kind of spot with a Rapala, but I'd go searching with it. But while I'm here, I'm staying here, I might as well try it, see what happens. There's a few fish blipping, there could be roach and things like that, it could be, you know, could be some small chub here or big chub even. Just a bit of noise just to see if it makes a difference. We haven't quite got into the finesse methods just yet, but these methods sometimes work, especially early on, to pick it up a few. Oh, there we go, pike just taking something then, a few bonus fish. So I'll run this through where that pike just took. Like I'm after perch, but I took a pike. And again, the Rapala's not going to go too deep. It is going to get down 5 foot, but you know, you're fishing. I'm up quite high up on a canal, so I'm going to bring the lure up. It's going to get down 4 or 5 foot, but you know, retrieve and pause. That's my method. But you can just straight retrieve it, nice and steady. Some days, other days quite fast. Just covering the swim, you will get a hit pretty much straight away, whether it's pike or perch on this kind of lure. You know, fish are not going to go, oh, I'll wait for the next one. You know, it's not like I'm not waiting for buses. Oh, I'll wait for the next one. I'll wait for the next one. They're going to go take it. So they either take it or they don't. Again, with the slow method, you know, you can keep it in the face and you might be able to tempt them. But this sort of thing, it's a chase lure. You know, most of your predators are chasing fish overnight. Chasing, you know, they've got to grab it straight away. They can't wait. Can't miss an opportunity. Could go trying further down along the edges of the boats and things down here. But for now, I'm going to stick to this spot. Try a few methods. Just to kind of show you that it's not always that easy. So when you are struggling, we all struggle. So go back, let's go back 10 years fishing. I would come to this kind of spot, some lock gate, there'd be perch there. You know, you won't need to do anything fancy. You'd have a few casts around, you won't catch straight away, but a few casts around, you find where they are, and you catch half a dozen, 10, 15, 20 perch. You might come back next day or a few days later, but what you do is you rotate to another spot, and you repeat your successes. You keep catching fish until eventually you came back to this spot again, and you catch some more fish. Ooh, again, something on the surface there. I don't know what that is. These days you haven't got time to do that, because if you do it, you can't leave it for a week or a month, because somebody else is going to come and fish it next day. So that's why it's not always so easy. So in this box I've got the usual similar size lures to this, a few cranks, some softies like that copper toe 2.5 inch. I haven't got a great deal small. I've got some spinners, but like I said, they're not really the best for this sort of spot. I haven't got much else in this box. And this is a typical box to what people might use. You can see it's a bit of a struggle. Got a few little options. Could try a crawl on the bottom, something like that. A weedless setup in case it's snaggy. I've got some slightly smaller lures, like a smaller copper toe. They're great. I'll give it a go, but probably struggle to cast on this setup. But I've got a solution to that, which I'll show you in a minute. So one last throw of dice before I switch to the lighter lures. Got a really light jig head on, 3 gram this time, and a drunk bait. These tend to be quite good for bite. So just have a few casts with it, see what happens. Fish it slow, and that paddle's waggling away, it sort of darts about a bit. Give me a little pike magnet sometimes. So with a 3 gram jig head on, and on this setup, slightly bigger rod. I think it's, what can we just get me the rating exactly? Yeah. 7 to 21 gram this rod, so it's still a light low rod. It's a bit of an all-round cranks, that sort of thing, some little jerk baits, bigger soft shads like this sort of size. But when you scale down to a 3 gram, so I'm probably 5 gram in total, you're on the minimum on quite a deep canal. Yeah, it's a slow sinking, but it's difficult to feel your lure where it is. So you've got to be proper switch on and stay alert to how much line you've wound in. Give it a chance to sink. Think about where it is in the water column. Scaling down to a 3 gram on a softie, it's a lot slower method. You can't just wind it in faster, it's just going to come just under the surface. It's not going to get where the fish are. So keep those kind of things in mind when you're scaling down with jig head size. So I've probably been here 20 minutes now, fishing, soft shads, the parlour. We had that one pike early doors, and that were really early doors. You know, it might have taken 6 minutes to get to that fish, but it was also the first time I'd cast down this edge, so you know, I caught it straight away basically. Now we've cast a few lures in those areas, and we're not catching. So you either move on, and like I say, I would, if I wouldn't bring, you know, wouldn't be bringing 2 rods, but I'd have this rod, this setup, and I would now go mobile. I'd go fishing with the Riverpiker jotted shad wrap, and I'd be covered in water to try and find some more fish, some quick fish. What we're going to do today is what often a lot of people do, and they stick to one spot, which can work. You can also fail. You stick to one spot and see what you can get. And on this occasion, luckily, I've brought a lighter rod. So it's the same little perch outfit, but just much lighter setup. So it's I think it's 0.5, is it? Is it 1? 0.5 to 6 gram. So I've got a 5 gram lure on, so that's its maximum size this time. So I'm going to switch that, put something smaller on, and we'll give it a go. We'll fish lighter. We've got a fluorocarbon trace on this time, and we'll see what we can catch. Right, so now that's what I started with. That's what I caught a pike with, and that's what I'm trying next. You see how much I'm really scaling down, fishing around, and that can actually, the last time I came here and fished this spot with this rod and this lure, I caught a pike that was about 14 pounds, which was fun. But yeah, so you can see sometimes scaling down is your way, so we'll give it a go. 3 gram jigged as opposed to a 10, much smaller lure. We're going to fish it just under the surface because there's been some chub and stuff, I presume chub knocking about, and then we'll try it on the bottom. I've had the odd little pluck on the bigger lures with what could have been a perch, so that might give you a chance of catching some small perch. Also a 14 pound pike, so yeah, stick with me, let's see what happens. So this rod, a trout rod, a lot lighter braid, 6 pound braid on it, 6 pound fluorocarbon, really soft tip rod, 0.5 to 6, so I'm really fishing light. Again, just fishing under the surface, the top 2-3 foot of water, and casting around. I'll also fish deeper. But what we've got out here is, I'll show you that afterwards, but we've got a little bit of an inlet from the higher part of the canal to the lower part of the canal, so we've got a bit of moving water, and sometimes fish are up in the surface. That's kind of why I'm sat down low down. I'm not stood up on the edge. I'm trying to sit down and keep my silhouette away from the fish seeing, because there'll be chub near the surface and they'll see anything. They'll be gone. So there's a good chance you could catch a chub in this sort of spot. Be nice if caught one. Would be nice. And again, it's fan casting, covering, you're feeling for any little bumps and plucks, and then you might target that area. We've still got a lot of canal, just by staying in one spot I've still got a lot of canal to target, so you can take your time to cover the water and see what you can find. Like I say, I'm just targeting the upper layers of the water here, in the fast water, running it through, you know, expecting that there's fish like perch or chub just sat looking up for anything getting washed downstream. Exactly what I did before last time I came and I got that pike. I came about 3 foot under the surface fishing this tiny lure. Tiny lure on a light rod. Nice and slow. You don't need to fish it fast because it's got a 3 gram jig head on. Nice and slow. Every now and again a little pause, let it sink, because sometimes things like that can make the fish take. And if you keep winding, you're going to bring your lure up in the water, so sometimes a pause is good just to get it back down again. No, we're now pushing on to half an hour in this swim, and we've had one pike. One pike that anyone could catch, you know. It's not just a, oh, what did he do, what fantastic there to catch that fish. It was one pike, you know. I cast a soft lure in its face and it took it. It's a catching the next fish after that that's a difficult part, and where you've got to try and add a little bit more stuff to your tackle box, whether it be things like TRDs. You get the Zeman TRDs. You can fish smaller lures, you can fish, you know, Texas or Carolina rigs, floating lures, you know, up from the bottom. You can drop shot. You could try little cranks, some little salmos or something, again to fish the upper layers, but you know, it's not always easy now. Even when you're fishing those methods, you know, a lot of the fish I've seen them. You know, you think of a £3 perch as what people are after eventually, you know, a £2-3 perch. There's not loads of them in here. There'll be a good chunk of them, good number, but it's not loads. And they've been caught. They've probably all been caught before. So they're not daft. They do get a bit wiser. They do smarten up a bit. And even them smaller ones, like I said, this method, fishing this lure 10 years ago, you would not be able to not catch a fish with it. And you'd leave it a month, probably fish it for 2 or 3 days, but then you'd leave it a month, come back and you'd catch the same amount of fish, you know, 20, 30, 40 perch in no time at all. You know, I used to fish for an hour or 2 hours on an evening and catch loads of perch, and then you've got your fill. You're a superstar. These days, you can fish 2 hours and not see a fish. It's just how canals are. It's just how low fishing is. Yep. Can't be a pike, surely. Surely that's not a pike. There's a pike. So fluorocarbon leader on. So if the pike's got it in its mouth and that leader's rubbing on its teeth, you'll lose it at some point. If I'm lucky enough and the lures on the outside, you know, lip hooked, you'll get it in. You know, unless you're really unlucky and it switches and flicks across it. But you know, you don't like lures, you can get them in. Small rod, take your time. Put too much drag on it, it'll snap my line. Like I say, if I'm unlucky, the hook's right in the mouth and the line will just rub against the teeth. If I'm lucky, I'm on a 0.5 6-gram rod. Rod is bent below. It's a pike. It's not fighting like a perch. It's not running like a choke. It's choking up the line out, so it's a pike. Pike. Like I say, it's a perch fishing video. Not seen it yet. Might be that 14 pounder I caught last time I came. Let's see how lucky I am. There we go. Exactly as I explained. Steady fish, steady fish, steady fish. It's just hooked on the scissors, so the teeth are not in the way. If it had gone through there, it'd have been in its mouth, you'd have lost that. But I won't crumble. I do like pike. Pikey pike. Let's get it back. what can you do? You scale down to that and you're catching pike. So we're fishing much slower now with that little shad, 3 gram jig head, fishing near the bottom, really slow method, and basically like scratching around trying to find something, trying to find a bump, small perch to find out where they are. This is a really slow method. Might be what works, but see how big this canal is. It's going to take you forever to fish this slow. That's why I go back to the slightly larger shad and the parlour. See what happens. Got a bit of movement now with boats and lock gates opening, so that'll either work or it won't. Sometimes that can trigger fish. So what do we do now? What would you do now if you were fishing here? Fished here knocking on an hour now, caught 2 pike. They've both going out half an hour apart. Not had a fish for half an hour. Scaled down, I've been fishing slow on the bottom, under the surface. I've tried, cranks. Not really working. I mean, so if you know me, if you followed the channel for some years, you know me. Probably by now I've been about halfway down that stretch. But today's, and searching for fish, but today's session is all about seeing if I can find something by switching methods and changing. So what would you do if you were here? Some people fish this kind of fishing really slow, chopping and changing, trying different methods, banking on that the fish are here. I'm sure there's a big perch here somewhere, but I'm not getting smacked by a small perch. They can't all be not feeding, they can't all have been caught. I'm not getting any touches from them, so they're probably not here. Or not in this bit where I'm fan casting. Admittedly, I've not tried the lock gates. Firstly, because there's a dead deer in lock gates at the minute. I've not tried where these boats were. I've not tried this fast water. So I could try a few little spots just around here, but I kind of want to show you that fishing isn't always as easy as it makes out on social media and YouTube. I've not watched the videos, but I know other YouTubers have been to this spot and caught fish. I don't even know what they caught. They've caught fish, and you might look at it, awesome, I ain't doing what they're doing, but they were here on that day, that method, that worked. What do you do when it's not working? And that's what happens when you go fishing on a weekend. It doesn't work, and you're struggling. I put on a little soft shad that's slightly bigger than the one I was using before. It's one of those LMAV ones, Kofi perch or something. A little bit more vibration, a little bit more flash, fire tiger colour. We all like a fire tiger. See if that picks up something. I've just made a slight move because these lads are wanting to just cut grass. Canal Rivers Trust, so I am struggling, not catching anything. No perch, I should say. I'm not catching perch. I'm now on the TRD. Little stick baits, on the bottom. You see me on those videos catching loads of perch. Can't fail to catch, can I? You see other people catching loads of fish, big fish. Can't fail. Again, TRD fishing, great method. Great when you know the fish are there, but really slow when they're not there. If you can't find them, it takes you forever to find them. So great method when you know where the fish are. You've had a few bumps and missed a few or lost a few, it's gone quiet, try it, but at the minute I'm not really finding anything with that. I'm searching water with this, it's just taking me too long. Again, another method tried, another method failed. Again, that's been an hour and a half on that spot, 2 pike, no perch, not even any real signs of it. A couple of little plugs, but you're like, is it perch or is it something else? Yeah, nothing to show for. Try this bit. Right, so that's me done. I've had enough of fishing this spot. Tried a lot of methods, tried low and slow, fast and hard, all that kind of stuff. Not working. And my style is a bit more mobile approach. But I just want to show you that, you know, if you're fishing in the wrong spot, no matter what method you're using, you're not going to catch. Got a couple of bites, I'm happy. Got my knuckles sorted. But yeah, I'm just going to find some fish because I can't do this all day. But yeah, if you're not catching, keep moving. Try a few methods. But I'd stick to trying more methods when your spots are not producing. When you've caught a few fish there and it quietens off, then try something different. When you know the fish are there, that I don't know what fish are there or not. It's ages since I've fished here, so that's it. I'm gonna go catch some fish somewhere else. So, just watching. Tight lads.